I've created this video as something of a tutorial for a game that I made. I've made a game that I've called Fantasy Card Game. While the name is a little bit generic, I think the game is fairly fun to play and doesn't really take a lot of effort to learn. It's a simple game, but like I said, I hope it's fun. It's going to be somewhat reminiscent to Top Trumps. It is vaguely inspired by a Top Trump game that I had when I was a kid. It was a fantasy one where there was fantasy cards with things like dragons and a barbarian and a wizard and all that sort of thing. So it was an inspiration, although I've put a slight twist on it. So in this video I'm going to show you the different game modes. There's essentially 3 different game modes, and I'll go through each of those and just explain how the game works. So I should also say that I created all of the code and all of the artwork with AI, which will either make some people hate it or some people just accept it, like it perhaps. Let's jump in. So the easiest way is just to jump straight into game and to show you how it works. So I'm going to press single player quick down here on the left side, and this is just a single player game. This is you as a player versus the computer. You have 3 cards, they've been randomly selected, and player 2, which is the computer, also has 3 cards, as you'd probably expect. The cards have 5 different stats. As you can see, there is strength, agility, intelligence, defense, and magic. Whenever you want to play a card, you just select it, and you'll see here the human is player 1, and there is an orange border around the card that you've selected. If you choose a different card, then a different card is the other card is highlighted with the orange, and it raises ever so slightly, as you can see. So each card will have things like, in addition to the 5 stats, you can see that it's also got hit points and a name. The hit points bar shows you the current health. So the max health is, for this one here, is 400, and then the current health is also 400. But then as they start to lose health in the game, then of course that number will reduce. So I'm looking at this, I think this is possibly my strongest card, the Elemental Guardian, and I see that it's got magic of 90, which is probably its best stat. So I'm going to look to the left side and choose the combat style that I want to be magic, and this other player, which has the Celestial Dragon, has also chosen magic. The Celestial Dragon is probably the strongest card. Its stats are on average higher than every other card, and it also has the ability to heal, which makes it an incredibly tough card. It's not impossible to beat, but it is very tough. So here we are straight in. My card has this ability that says blessed. It was actually just a healing ability, and then this sort of generic status comes up to say, yes, you have been blessed. You can see immediately now that the hit point bar has come down as it has taken damage, and it's the same with the Celestial Dragon. The computer cards are slightly greyed out, which is just to kind of show you that yes, they exist, but they've slightly greyed out. Of course, in many of these games where you would play against, say, a friend or whatever, like with Top Trumps, you wouldn't necessarily see their cards. It's something stylistic. I could decide to hide them as well, but I figured while I was basically testing and everything else, I just had them face up, and I don't think it's really a huge problem. You at least get to see what they've got, and you can try to make some decisions ahead of time as to which card you want to play in which order. There is a little bit of sort of tactics there, although as I've said before, this is a simple game, so don't expect it to be super complicated nor particularly challenging. It's mostly just for something quick and fun that you can play if you have a spare few minutes, or perhaps maybe if you have kids, then maybe the kids can play it too, as a way just to do something relaxing, fun, and learn a little bit about strategy and maybe a little bit about, I don't know, numbers or something, whatever. So I'll continue fighting. I got burning, which means that my guy is on fire, and that's because the dragon breathes fire, as you might expect. It did another round of healing, so it's still got this blessed effect. which doesn't really do much else other than it was just healing. It's really quite simple mechanics here. On what is going to be the right side is the combat log. This was again something that was really quite helpful for me whenever I was trying to debug the game and trying to get it to work. And I think on desktop it looks okay. It actually hides when you're on mobile if you were trying to play this on mobile. And I think it's nice to see what's actually happening. However, it could also be quite distracting, and potentially I could just hide that unless the player really wants to see what's going on and to dig into the details. It's arguably not really necessary. So that's something that I'm thinking about, something that I may do when I make some tweaks. Let's continue fighting. My guy has burning still, and I think that's what the little sun emoji was, that it's burning. The dragon is blessed, which means he's doing healing, and he is really quite a tough card. Really just slaughtered me. I have this fear that this dragon may end up slaughtering at least 2 of my cards, maybe even 3, which is not a particularly good look. So I'm going to choose the elf archer, I think. Now I'm trying to remember some of the stats that they have, and I don't quite remember all of them. But okay, let's go for archer. I'm going to go for ranged. Now there's no ranged stat, but it is actually agility. You might argue that maybe that's not quite the right thing, and maybe it shouldn't be. Yeah, fair. However, it is what it is. One thing I should point out is that the determination of who goes first is a combination of agility and intelligence, and a little bit of randomness too. So there's always a slight sort of tweak. You'll see the button now here is a little bit different. This fight button actually changes depending on your fighting style and the computer's fighting style. It's just a sort of silly little extra feature that the game has. Yeah, my card is getting seriously whacked, burning, and it was quite easy. It would be a little bit embarrassing if I lost all 3 of my cards in basically one after the other without even taking one of their cards away. But the Celestial Dragon is rather strong, a little bit too strong, perhaps. Ooh, now this is the interesting one. So the troll is able to do stun, and stunning another card means it can't do any damage. And this is where you have a chance against the dragon because it doesn't have any way to block the stun. And so some cards that are seemingly weaker than the dragon can actually beat it. And there's therefore a slight chance that I could win here, but I'm not hopeful, is what I'm going to say. Just clicking through it, yeah, I lost that pretty easily. Yikes, not a great look. However, this was just random cards. That's what the quick play is about, it's just random cards. If you get stuck, you can press this question mark on the left side of the screen, and it gives you a bit of an idea of how the game flow is. I've just shown you that through this video. You have 3 cards, there's a selection phase, and then you choose the combat style, and then you basically try to get the other cards to 0. You press the fight button in order to start the fight, which is kind of obvious. Combat, this is the combat style, so it's saying that melee is based on strength, as you probably guess, ranged is based on agility, and then magic's based on magic. It also says about the initiative at the bottom. The abilities, so it tells you what the abilities are and a little bit how they work. There are some that do like damage over time, such as the burning does that, as does poisoned and bleeding. The visual effects, oh yeah, it's just telling you what the emojis are, so you can have some idea of what that means whenever they pop up. Great, so you can press the home button at any time if you want to go back to the first page, and if a game completes, then you have this new game button pop up at the bottom, and I'll click new game. Now that I've shown you the single player quick, I'll show you single player advanced. This is where you get to select your cards. There's currently 26 cards at the time of recording. Maybe by the time that you've started to try this game out, then there might be a few more cards. So I'm going to think to myself, which cards might I want to take? And I quite like this one. I know this one can be good. And I'm going to try not to pick the Celestial Dragon, even though it's like probably the strongest card, but I'll try to pick something else which is a little bit different and maybe a little bit more interesting. And I'm just trying to remember what would be a little bit more interesting. Perhaps I can pick, is it the Minotaur or the Troll? I know the Troll sometimes has some interesting things, but I just let's go for the Minotaur. Let's try that. And yeah, unfortunately I have to scroll down a bit to see the start button. I maybe need to change the layout. I will choose the Undead Knight. His best stat is strength, so he's going to go for melee. They've chosen the Air Elemental, which is ranged, and that's probably the best stat that it is. And immediately the Air Elemental has stunned me. That was one of the cards I was trying to remember so I could pick it out, because having stun is really good because it basically nullifies the damage that the other card can do for that round. So you can completely block the damage. Oh, there we go. So my card also has stunned, which I was sure, or stun I should say. It has the stun ability. We can click through pretty fast. Combat in this game is really quite fast. Again, it's meant to be a simple game, one which is fun that you can just get into. So I've won that first round. They've chosen the Dwarf card, which, yeah, it beat me. Fair enough, whatever, I knew it was going to happen. Now the Lightning Elemental probably should be a magic card, although the agility is higher, so it's actually technically ranged. And it is what it is, just the way that the card was designed. I'm going to select the card I want to play. I have obviously a choice of two cards, the Lightning Elemental or the Minotaur, and I choose the Lightning Elemental. It's got stun, and so no problem at all in whacking this dwarf, and stunned again. And yeah, the Lightning Elemental is a really quite a strong card, even though the stats aren't the absolute best. It's decent for being able to stun, which is why it's a strong card. It doesn't take as much damage as it could. And now we've got Minotaur versus Minotaur, except mine is full health. So I'm going to look, it's got, yeah, strength is the best, so we're going to go for melee. Fight, fight, fight. Yikes, stunned. Ooh, it could be close. Okay, I won. It was a little bit close in the end there. Probably I've got 2 hits left in me while the other card is obviously gone. So that was, I thought, quite interesting, where I selected my own cards. I knew which cards were quite kind of strong, and the computer had 3 random cards, and it ended up being quite close. And I found that actually a lot of the games can end up being quite close, and you can't always tell if you're going to win or lose at the beginning. If you have got 3 very weak cards and you know that they're weak cards, then yeah, sure, you might. You know, it's like 3 weak cards versus the Celestial Dragon, and sometimes that alone is enough to let you know that you're going to lose. So I start a new game, and I can show you the very last game mode available at the moment, which is 2 players locally. So this is just you and a friend. When you're sitting on the same computer, you are doing hot desking, or hot seat, sorry I should say, rather than hot desking, that's the wrong thing. You may remember this from playing games in the past. I certainly remember playing games back in the 90s where we might play, I think it was Civilization that me and my friends were playing. I think there was, possibly in Civ 3, I remember we sat and we had a hot seat game where we took turns. I think also even in Space Empires, it's a less well known game, but Space Empires 3 possibly, somewhere in the mid-late 90s. We sat at home and we did hot seating where we took turns to play the game on the same computer. Okay, anyhow, so not super important. I'll just take the 3 cards I have here just to build deck 1. So player 1 is happy, and player 2 will do another 3 cards. Let's take this, and now we can start. And the game just proceeds as before. There is no difference here other than that player 2 also has to select their card, and you also have to select your combat style as before. Nothing really different here. It's just the fact that you can select 2 cards at the same time, and you're supposed to imagine that it's 2 people sitting at the same computer or side by side, whatever. And then again, you can just fight through it, and oh, the wizard got beaten quite badly. But I think you get the idea there, and hopefully the type of game is of interest to you. Hopefully the art is kind of cool, or that you like this. I think it's all reasonably consistent, and I'm fairly happy with how that's turned out. As I've said, this is something that I coded myself with AI. Same with the art. It's open source. As you can possibly see here in the video, you can maybe see that it's on Vercel, and the code is on GitHub. So you could play it locally if you wanted. You could even download it and modify the code if you really wanted, or add more cards if you wanted. So the Vercel link is here inside GitHub as well. All of the code is here. A little bit about some of the features, an example of how the game looks, the rules, and getting started, how to install it, and all of the sort of good stuff that you'd expect on GitHub. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say about the game. I think it's a pretty good overview, and yeah, I think it turned out quite well. So maybe by the time that you've watched this video, maybe I will have added more cards or more features or tweaked a few things, but I'm not sure. It does feel quite complete as it is, and I'm fairly happy with how it is. It's simple, but it's sort of fun and it's effective. So I want to thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video. If you like and subscribe, it will help the channel to grow. Thank you very much.